So, welcome back. Let's discuss now the promotion, the fourth promotion, that is promotion from associate professor to professor. Now, there is a lot of confusion that whether the professorship came for the first time in 2018 or not. So, we'll say that theoretically, yes, theoretically no, but practically yes. Theoretically, no, because CAS 2010 also contained the promotion or the provision of promotion from associate professor to professor. Practically, no, because many colleges or universities may not have got this seats sanctioned from UGC. If they already have the sanctioned positions, then they can still go for CAS 2010 promotion to professor under CAS 2010. Now, first, let's see that what CAS 2018 provides or requires to get one promoted from associate professor to professor. It requires 3 years in academic level 13A. It means you must have spent 3 years of service in associate professor. And you must have done the PhD in the core allied or relevant subject. And the important thing is 10 research publications in peer-reviewed or UGC listed journals, of which 3 should be published during the assessment period. I would like to tell you that there was a notification in 2019 by UGC, which said that this UGC listed journals, the list of UGC listed have been replaced by UGC CARE. So papers only published in UGC CARE list, journals published in journals which are in UGC CARE list after 14th June 2019 would be considered. Apart from these 10 research papers, in the entire service, this says 10 research publications in the entire service, and 3 should be in the assessment period. That is, 3 should be in assessment period, that 3 years of assessment. And it does not say 1 paper in every year. It says that 3 years, 3 papers in 3 years. So, which means that in 1 year also, in that span of 3 years, you can have these 3 papers even in 1 year. And then apart from that, it requires a minimum of 110 research score, as per appendix 2 table 24, which was given in UGC regulations 2018. Now, promotion criteria under this also, now again, I have one thing more I would like to tell is that 110 research score has to be there in the entire service. It's not, the 110 research score is not in the assessment period. It has to be of your entire service, and it comprises of 6 categories. Now, the promotion criteria under this is you get satisfactory or good grade in the APAR of at least 2 out of 3 years during the assessment period, and 110 research score. And the recommendation is of the selection committee. Now, let's see that what option of promotion to professorship was there in CAS 2010. So, again, you need 3 years in stage 4. PhD you need. And you need a minimum of 5 publications since the period that the teacher is placed in stage 3. So stage 3 was a selection grade. So selection grade, from selection grade till associate professor or till this you have become eligible for professor, you must have 5 publications. Publications means same that were mentioned in table, the category 3, 3A and 3B. The heading 3A and 3B publications. The promotion criteria is that the teacher shall be promoted if he gets relaxed API score of 60. Now, I am talking about the college professors. This 60 scores, or whatever scores I have told you is of college teachers. For university teachers, you can make it double. Where it is 45, you can make it 90. Where it is 50, it is 100. Where it is 60, you can make it 120. So again, it is collectively required in category 2 and 3. And recommendation has to be there by the selection committee. Now, what you need to understand is that in case of associate professor in colleges, promotion to the post of professor under CAS shall be further subject to clause 6.5.1 and 6.5.2 of regulations 2010. Then what were these 2 clauses, 6.5.1 and 6.5.2? they put the ceiling, they put the capping, that how many people, how many associate professors can be, they can become professor in a college. So you can see that 6.5.1 is basically for undergraduate colleges and 6.52 is for postgraduate colleges. Now, what is the ceiling? Ceiling says that only 10% of the number of posts of associate professors in an undergraduate college shall be that of professors. So if in your college, if you have, 38 professors, so maximum 3 can become professors. Then there shall be no more than one post of professor in each department. So you cannot become, if already one person is there in the professor in the department, there cannot be in your college in that department. Then no other person can also become, no other person can become the professor. Then the third capping is that 1/4, that is 25% of the post of the professor in undergraduate colleges shall be directly recruited, and only 75% shall be filled through CAS. So it means that if you have 4, suppose 40 associate professors, then 4 can become the professors. Then out of 4, 1 has to be filled through direct recruitment, and then 3 can be done through the career advancement scheme. 3 can be promoted. Now, there is no such limit in professorship under CAS 2018 in colleges. So practically, that's why I was saying that practically CAS 2018 gives you wider options to, and more people to get promoted under professorship as compared to people in CAS 2010. Now, let's see what is required in APAR, that we are talking about annual performance appraisal report. No APAR is required in CAS 2010. CAS 2010 only PBS, performance based appraisal system, is enough. Performance based assessment system that Proforma has been given, that is enough. You don't need APAR in that. APAR is required only in 2018. Now your APAR for first 2 promotions have only 2 requirements. That is teaching, number of classes, the percentage, that number of classes taught divided by total classes assigned into 100%. This is what the formula is being there. Suppose you have allotted 50 classes and you have taken 40 classes, so it is 80%. So if you have taken 80% and above classes, your grading in that serial number 1 activity is good. There are 2 activities. One is the teaching activity and another activity. One is this teaching activity and another is the activities which are involvement in university college student related activity, that we say student related or research activities. One is the teaching activity. So if you have got 80% and above in teaching activity, then the grading in this teaching activity would be good. There are individual gradings also and there are overall grading also. And then you can see that in the the student related activity or research activity, there are 7 activities which are mentioned under the second activity. So one is the administrative responsibility such as head, chairperson, dean, director, coordinator, etc. This is one activity. And then examination and evaluation related activity, like you have done invigilation, you have done evaluation, paper setting. These are different activities. Then student related activities, like you have organized some student seminar or events, cultural or sports events or anything. Then you have organized any seminars, conferences, workshops, other activities. Then they are also one of the activities. Then even guiding the PhD students is also an activity. Now, not guiding the MPhil students, PhD students guiding is an activity here. Then conducting minor or major research project is also an activity. And last 7th activity is one single. Now it says at least, means it doesn't mean that this activity becomes mandatory. It is, they are listed under 7 activities. These are 7 activities. You can see these are 7 activities. And the last activity is that at least one single or joint publication in peer reviewed or UGC listed. At least one means that if 2 are there, then also that will be one activity. If 3 are there, then also this is one activity. At least one means one paper will make one activity. That's why this word at least has been used. It is not mandated. It doesn't mean that this has to be there at least. Now, these are the 7 activities. Under these seven activities, there could be some other activities, many activities. Like under examination evaluation activities, invigilation can be a separate activity, paper setting can be a separate activity, and evaluation can be a separate activity. So these 3 activities can be there under the B category activity, right? Same thing there. Administrative, one person can have more than one administrative responsibility, so they will be counted as a separate activities. So you can see that note here, it has been mentioned number of activities can be within or across the broad categories of activities, which means under A category you can have many activities, under B also you can have, so it can be across or within. So within the same activity you can have many activities, and it can be across these 7 activities. And in the basically in that particular APAR, in that APAR means APAR is of academic year. APAR is of academic year. Usually that is from 1st July to 30th June. So if in that academic year, if you have been involved in at least 3 activities, 3 or more than 3 activities, your grading would become good in this second activity. I told you that there are 2 activities, teaching activity and these student related activity. So in these 7 activities, if you have mentioned, if you are able to involve yourself in 3 or more activities, then it will be termed as good. If you are ranging about 1 or 2 activities, then it is satisfactory. And if you have not involved any activity, then it will be not satisfactory. Now these are the individual gradings in these 2 activities. Now we can have an overall grading also. Overall grading will be there on the basis of these 2 grading in these 2 activities. Now what is that? If good in teaching and satisfactory or good in activity at serial number 2, that is student related activity. So good, that will be considered as good. Good in teaching, it means 80% more, 80% or above in teaching was there. So you will get good in teaching, or satisfactory or good in serial number 2. Serial number 2 was this. So if either you have a good or you have a satisfactory, that is you are involved in 1 or 2 activities or 3 or more activities. So that will be, you will get good overall grading. If now this overall grading is required, the criteria that has been mentioned that in the screening committee that evaluates, or selection committee, that you must have 3 out of 4 or 4 out of 5 PARs have been good or satisfactory. This is what they are. Then if satisfactory in teaching, now satisfactory in teaching, when you will have 80 to between 70 and 80% you have the teaching. So then you will have satisfactory in teaching and good or satisfactory in serial number 2. Now what does it mean? That you must, now the bottom line is that you must take more than 70% and must take at least one activity to make this serial number activity good or satisfactory. Then only this good or satisfactory can be there. So your promotion can be given if APAR contains good or satisfactory, right, and fulfills the overall minimum requirement of APARs to be good or satisfactory according to your assessment period. Now it will be not satisfactory at all if you're good, or if neither good nor satisfactory in overall grading. Now you see the note. For the purpose of assessing, because now what will happen, that many teachers will have this doubt that they were on leave. They have taken leave, academic leave, they study leave, maternity leave, child care leave, so many leaves, deputation, they went to deputation. So what about that period? How we will be counted? That period will be incorporated. So you can see that what they have mentioned, that for the purpose of assessing the grading of activity at serial number 1 and serial number 2, all such periods of duration which have been spent by the teacher on different kind of paid leaves, such as maternity leave, child care leave, study leave, medical leave, extraordinary leave, and deputation, shall be excluded from the grading assessment. The teacher shall be assessed for the remaining period of duration, and the same shall be extrapolated for the entire period of assessment to arrive at the grading of the teacher. Now it means that it has to be, this word extrapolation is important here. Now this means that the extrapolation would be done. For example, if your 3 years is the assessment period, you want to get promoted from selection grade to associate professor. The period requirement is service requirement is 3 years. In this 3 year, you were, for example, 4 months study leave. Now, in the year in which you were 4 months study leave, the remaining 8 months grading would be extrapolated for this 4 months, and the entire year grading would be arrived at. Now, further, suppose you were in the entire year you were on study leave, or 2 years you were in study leave. Out of 3 years, you were in study leave for 2 years. Then the 1 year grading would be deemed to be the grading of second and third year as well. That is known as extrapolation. That we go beyond that time period and we extrapolate. So this is what the extrapolation clause says. That if the teacher was, suppose, 3 years, out of 3 years, 2 years he was on leave, study leave, all paid leaves, they will be counted. The period will be counted. Medical leave, study leave, childcare, they all will be counted. Because it specifically says the teacher on such leaves on deputation or mention above shall not be put to any disadvantage for promotion under caste due to his absence from his teaching responsibility. So in that case, the grading, whatever the teaching grading is there, you will simply write the grading of the previous year, and simply in the bracket you can write extrapolated. So by extrapolation, you can arrive the grading of the period of in which you are on leave. So extrapolation clause is important here. Now, many those who are seeing this thing, that this 2018 specifically mentioned this extrapolation clause. What about those who are opting for CAS 2010? Now, for CAS 2010 also, the UGC has given a letter, public notice dated 5th September 2018, where they have said that now it can happen to teachers also. For example, you require an API score of 50, or say API score of 45 for associate professor, and out of 3 years, 2 years you were on leave. So it means that you cannot go. What about the API scores for those 2 years? So here it says that accordingly, for the purpose of calculating API score for all such period of duration which have been spent by a teacher on different kind of paid leaves, such as this shall be excluded from the grading assessment, and teacher shall be assessed for the remaining period of duration of assessment period, and same shall be extrapolated. It means that if suppose in the out of 3 years you have an API score of 1 year because 2 years you were on leave, and 1 year API score is 20. So it will be made 60. So 60, it will be extrapolated, and your API score for the 3 years will be arrived at, it will be made 60. So this is extrapolation clause applies to CAS 2010 also, as per this UGC letter dated 5th September 2018. Now, how the assessment is done under the CAS 2018? The first step is that the university or the college teacher shall submit to his college or university and self-appraisal report in the prescribed format, and it will provide all the documentary evidence for the claims that he has made in the appraisal report, and which will be verified by the HOD or teacher in charge, whatever you say, and it will be submitted through HOD or teacher in charge to the college or the university. The step 2 is that after completion of the required years of experience of promotion under CAS, the teacher shall submit an application for promotion under CAS. Dekhiye, what I am trying to say is that annually what you will submit is the APAR, and every year you will submit through your HOD. Suppose I am becoming eligible in 2020 for associate, so I will submit my APAR for 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20. These 3 APARs I will submit. When I will become eligible, then I will apply my promotion form, and then PBAS I will fill. There is a PBS pro forma that you have to fill, right? APAR is separate, PBS is separate. APAR is filled and individually submitted every year, irrespective whether you are getting promotion or not. PBS is filled only when you become eligible for promotion. And step 3, a CAS promotion shall be granted as mentioned in subsequent clauses. Now, this was the requirement for college teachers which have been relaxed, right? Now see, if you see original UGC regulation, if you see the UGC notification, there is a mistake. They have mentioned that category 3 in 20 assessment period, 50 assessment period, 45, 60. UGC original regulation has a mistake which contains only minimum API score under category 3 they mentioned. They forgot to mention category 2 also, whereas in the text they have mentioned that this score would be required collectively, 2 and 3. But University of Delhi has adopted like this in their EC. They have made the correction and they have adopted like this. Now, as I told you that under CAS 2010, relaxation has been given for, this is the relaxation which has been given, 20 assessment period, 50 assessment, maybe 45 and 60. But computation has to be done as per those prevailing provisions, the career advancement scheme and its amendments which has been there, UGC regulations 2010 and the amendments which have been there. So in computation of API score in basically CAS before 11th July 2016 was like this. I'm not talking about category 1, I'm talking about category 2. So it was about outstanding, very good, and this is what the points have to be given, right? But only in administrative responsibilities it was actual hours spent. So whatever number of hours spent, you have to divide by 10 and then the points will be arrived at. So this was like this. And in category 3, as I mentioned you at that time, category 3A and 3B, this is what the research publications or the publications would be considered. Research papers, conference proceedings, right? Textbooks, they all will be part of publications. Now, after 11 July 2016, after the UGC this regulation amendment which was there, you can see that here it is the assessment was done by like this. Prior to that it was done by like this, outstanding and that. Now it is done like this. Whatever the number of hours are being there, you divide, you spent it and you divide by 10 and the maximum score is also there. And this is the research, an academic contribution table which has been changed, which was changed in amendment and applicable from 11 July 2016. That was, UGC listed journals, and the points also was there. Again, 3A, 3B, where the publications will be mentioned, they will be taken in this. And then the research projects and all that. Now, the important thing that the UGC regulation mentions is the requirement of refresher and orientation. Now it says that there will be no requirement of refresher and orientation for promotions due under CAS up to 31st December 2018. Now one thing is there, when it says CAS, so it means that it is applicable for both the schemes, 2010 as well as 18. And it says that no requirement of refresher and orientation under CAS up to 30. Now no requirement does not mean that it is complete exemption. It only says that if you are not able to do any refresher or orientation during that assessment period, in all the cases of promotions which are due before 31st December 2018, 31st December 2018, your assessment period will not get shifted. Rather, you have to complete those refresher and orientation programs up to 17th July 2021. You complete by that time. So it's not mandatory. It says it is not mandatory, but it does not mean mandatory. Mandatory does not mean that complete exemption. You need not to do them at all. You have to do. So it will be counted to your, like for example, in first promotion you need 1 refresher as per 2018. In second promotion you need 2, and the third promotion you need 1. So you need 4 refresher courses in your entire career. So if you have done 3 and your all promotions are due up to 31st December, so you give the undertaking that you will complete by 17 July 2021 and you can get promoted. So relaxation is given. This is also a kind of another relaxation which has been given, that you complete your refresher orientation by this time and your date will not be shifted. Then as per the relaxation, there shall be no minimum API score in category 2 and 3 individually, and the relaxation would be taken combinedly. I also told you that in category 1 there is a complete exemption. you need to understand, I mentioned you that this is up to 18, this relaxation has to be as per the wordings of the regulation, it has to be there up to 18 July 2018. This means no relaxation in API scores will be given in category 2 and 3 if your promotion is due on or after 18 July 2018. If you opt for CAS 2010. If you opt for CAS 2010 prior to 18 July 2018, then you get this relaxation of API scores. Now, counting of past ad hoc temporary service under CAS 2010. You can see that this CAS 2010 contained the clause of 10(1)(f) of UGC Regulations 2010, which says that previous regular service, whether national or international, should be counted for direct recruitment and promotion, provided the previous appointment was of not a guest lecturer. So guest lecturer, whatever guest lecturer as a, you have taken the experience, that will not be counted as a service. Or an ad hoc or in leave vacancy of less than 1 year duration. So ad hoc service, guest lecturer of any duration, or ad hoc service or leave vacancy of less than 1 year duration. So it means the ad hoc service has to be of more than 1 year. Ad hoc or temporary service of more than 1 year duration can be counted, provided that the period of service was more than 1 year duration. The incumbent was appointed on the recommendation of the duly constituted selection committee, and the incumbent was selected to the permanent post in continuation to the ad hoc or temporary service without any break. Now, these three things collectively mention this thing, that ad hoc service or temporary service of less than 1 year duration will not be counted even in CAS 2000, will not be counted in CAS 2010. And one should join if suppose there is a break from ad hoc or temporary service to permanent. Suppose on 20th February 2018 you are relieved from a service, and then on 24th you join the permanent, then also it will not be counted. So without any break you should join as a permanent. Now what about 2018? Now 2018, you can see it simply says previous regular service should be counted for direct recruitment and promotion, provided the previous ad hoc or temporary or contractual service by whatever name shall be counted for direct recruitment and promotion, provided that the essential qualification for the post held were not lower than the qualifications prescribed. The incumbent was appointed on the recommendation of a duly selected committee, and the incumbent was drawing a total gross emoluments not less than monthly gross salary of a regulatory appointed. Now this is a big relief. It means that those who want to get their past service counted in terms of ad hoc and they had the breaks or they had the less than 1 year service, they should opt for CAS 2018. So CAS 2018 provides, had a provision to even count the service with the break. So break services are also counted. So usually ad hoc services are given for 4 months and then 1 day break is being there. Or sometimes somebody is having 9 months, 11 months temporary service. In that case, in 2018, that period can also be counted. Even contractual service can also be counted. So this is very beneficial clause to get the past services counted under CAS 2018. So what options you can have? You can see this is a summary. If the due date of eligibility of your promotion falls between 31st December 2008 and 11 July 2016. You can opt for CAS 2010, and you can exercise the option of CAS 2018 also with UGC regulations with the relaxation that has been given. And if your eligibility falls between 11 July 2016 and 17 July 2018, that is before the date of notification of UGC regulation 2018, you can opt for 2018 also as in the pending cases, and as well as CAS 2010 with the relaxation. But if the eligibility is on or after 18 July, then you can opt for CAS 2010, but the relaxation may not be given, right? And in terms of API scores, relaxation may not be given in terms of API scores in category 2 and 3 collectively. So finally, which options to be chosen? You can see that there is a summary that, for example, if no ad hoc service to be counted, if you have requisite relaxed API points under category 2 and 3 taken together, no PhD but eligible for associate, but you have 3 publications in the last 12 years, and you have a difficulty in procuring past APARs, annual performance appraisal reports, then you can go for CAS 2010. But if CAS 2018 largely gives more benefits, It counts the ad hoc service even with breaks. Even the people teachers don't need any API scores in the category 2 or 3, even combinedly. And you can you are eligible for to the level of associate professor, and having a PhD degree, you can get promoted also to professorship also. So that is also a beneficial thing. People, those who do not have any papers in the research paper in the last 12 years and they have PhD, they can go for associate professor, and they have no problem in procuring a PAR. So largely, the benefits of CAS 2018 outweighs the CAS 2010, but only in case of those who are having no PhD, and they have no ad hoc service also, so no problematic thing is being there. So they can go for CAS 2010. If in some universities, in some colleges, the aided colleges, promotions can be done under CAS 2010 to the post of associate professor, or to the professor also. So that is also beneficial thing. So, but in that case, a capping will be there, right? So those who opt under CAS 2018, those teachers for professorship, they may not be subject to any capping. So this was all about CAS 2010 and CAS 2018. I hope you have enjoyed it and you have understood it, and many things which were in gray area, I hope I would have I'm able to clarify many things and clear the air. So thank you very much.